It's episode 5, and this week we are journeying through the UK, all the way from here in Cornwall right down the south of England and finishing up in Edinburgh in Scotland, stopping off on some beautiful islands off the Pembrokeshire coastline on the way. We begin our journey with Ian McCarthy, who is spending lockdown at home on the banks of the beautiful River Foy.
As a wildlife photographer and cameraman, I usually spend a lot of time outside in nature. Normally I have my boat in, but I'm not allowed that at the moment. So I end up looking at it out the window. Normally I'd be up and down the river in my boat quite a lot, especially checking trap cameras for otter. But the otters are out there, but I can't go and see what they're up to at the moment. But nature just gets on with it. I'm so lucky to have a garden. It's been a lifesaver, really, for a naturalist. And in that garden, I have a lovely pond, and it's full of wildlife. And what the lockdown has meant is looking more inward, looking at smaller things, finding beauty in that which is close to you. And the pond is just full of it. 2 mornings ago, I had the first dragonfly hatch from the pond. You have to get quite close to see the true magnificence and beauty of a dragonfly. Those wings are exquisite. They're works of art. By sunrise, they have to be ready to fly. And then while I watched, he took his first flight. And he became a creature of the air and not a creature of the water. And that's the way. Looking for beauty in small things, in detail. And that's what nature is so good at. And insects show that so well. So I spend hours on end on my hands and knees around the pond, watching life go on, a world within a world. And I would recommend to anybody who has a garden to dig a pond. Doesn't matter how big or small it is, it will bring beauty and nature and wonder right to you. It's been salvation for me through this lockdown.
For the next stop on our journey, we are heading out to some islands off the Pembrokeshire coast and finding out how Lizzie Daly is keeping connected with these beautiful islands, though she can't physically be there herself.
Normally, at this time of year, I'd be heading west to the west coast of South Wales. I'm talking about Skomer, Skomer and Grasshome Island, which at this time of year are alive with seabirds. Skomer is the closest island to the Pembrokeshire coast. It's about just under a nautical mile from the coast. Then you have its sister island, Skomer Island, and then further offshore you have an island called Grasshome Island, and it is very much a gannet's world out there. It's the 3rd largest colony of northern gannets in the world, and actually all these islands have real national significance in terms of what seabirds are there at this time of year. Skomer has been a nature reserve since 1958. Most people visit the island to see the large colony of puffins that are found there, but puffins aside, there's actually a lot of other seabird action that goes on there. There's a lovely black-legged kittiwake colony in a place called the Wick. I'm just always blown away by the sheer number of guillemots that can be stuffed into what looks like a slimy slab of cliff. Then another highlight, which I think people forget about, the evenings, just when it's beautiful like this, you'll see the manx shearwaters coming closer and closer. So the shearwaters will head offshore in the daytime and then come in and go into their burrows at night time. I've spent many an evening out on the boat waiting for the shearwaters to come in closer and rafting huge numbers. Now, I could talk to you about the seabirds that you find on the Welsh coast until you fall asleep, but the main reason why I wanted to talk about it is because there's something really special with the thought that all this wildlife, the breeding season, these birds that have spent all of this time offshore coming in and now busy building out burrows, laying their eggs, going out and fishing, and they're alone doing it. Although I can't get out to the islands right now, I'm staying connected through Skomer Live, where we bring you everything that is Skomer Island, the wardens, the wildlife, the island itself, through live cameras, through live interviews with the wardens. We can still talk about the activity of the seabirds, we can still check out the puffin cams. It's all about bringing the island to you. It's still a fantastic way to celebrate the nature on our doorstep.
During lockdown, we have all had to learn how to connect both with each other and with nature in a very different way. And listening to what's around us has been a great way of connecting to our own local patch. So with that, it's time for our weekly birdsong lesson with the lovely Lucy.
Today the songster we're going to meet is a member of the finch family, and it's a little bird you're likely to see on the ground hopping around underneath your feeders if you have them. Now the male and female of this bird look quite different, the male with that pinky chest and the female brown all over, and it is of course the chaffinch. Now the chaffinch has a really distinct song, it's quite an easy one to pick out, and there's two little features you've got to take notice of in order to identify it. The first is when you listen to that song, it descends. I like to imagine going down a flight of stairs or perhaps a waterfall, so it starts at the top and works all the way down. The second feature is that little rasp that you hear at the end. It's almost like a rattle, and the way I've learnt to identify it is to think of it blowing a raspberry. So this chaffinch has attitude, it's a little bit of a whinger. It whinges all the way down, moan, 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 and right at the end it sticks out its tongue and blows that raspberry. So it's quite a nice fun image to remember to learn the song of the chaffinch.
For the final leg on our UK journey, we finish up in Scotland with filmmaker Rob Waugh, who has been capturing the empty streets of Edinburgh and the urban wildlife that he is noticing while the streets have fallen silent.
Lockdown has been dramatic for all of us, especially when you live in a city like Edinburgh, which is usually a bustling hub of tourism. But it is an opportunity to see the areas you live in with unrushed eyes and quiet ears. Even in my small back garden in the middle of Edinburgh, there is so much flora, fauna and natural beauty to observe. The bluebells are in fine show, and the lady ferns are starting to unfurl through the bark. And much to the delight of my two boys, there's a resident pair of foxes who appear in our shed most mornings. A 10-minute walk that way is the sea, where cormorants, occasional seals, heron and plenty of eider ducks can be found. And 10 minutes walk in the other direction is a network of lush green cycle paths which snake throughout the city beside the Water of Leith, where you'll find swans, ducks, moorhens and plenty more. We're even in the middle of a city with all its light pollution. You can see Venus and the constellations spectacularly well. So even amidst all the difficulties of the current situation, take a moment to stop and enjoy being able to hear the birdsong.
From the peace of Ian's Pond to the silent streets of Edinburgh, life has certainly taken on a different shape for us this spring. But emerging from the difficulties of the strange period has been a lot of beauty, a lot of calm, and a lot of wildlife.